Hello YouTube, this is my 8 weeks on T video. I skipped the last week because it was just too busy and I don't really like to record my videos when anyone's home, so rather than whisper in my room, I just decided to wait because not a lot has changed. But I can go ahead and quickly go through physical changes again. And I think one of the things that people don't appreciate enough is that the beginning of your transition is just like any other puberty that anyone else goes through. It's very gradual. There is no waking up one day and large changes are all of a sudden there. It builds on top of itself and you have to give it time. So with me being in what's almost officially my 2 months, what I've still seen is what I was seeing in the beginning, which is body hair. There's a lot more on my thighs, on my legs, and things of that nature. And then my arms, not so much. That slowed down a lot. It's really the legs and my stomach for some reason. But it's not so much that anybody would really notice if they were just looking at me from afar. And another thing is that facial hair is becoming a thing. It's not a lot. It's probably what you would see in a kid that's 13, 14 years old, just getting darker hairs up here and more hairs along the side and some wispy chin hairs. And then my voice is dropping a little bit steadily. But other than that, I haven't really seen any other changes besides that even when I don't work out, like the muscle that I do have, it doesn't just go away. It kind of stays. Like before, if I didn't work out for a week, all of a sudden, all of the muscle that I worked for was gone. While, I haven't been doing as much as I usually do, but this is still here. Another thing that I've noticed is that some of the changes that other guys have experienced by now, either I'm not going to experience or they haven't come yet. And when I say that, I say things like changes in sex drive, interests in sex, and then how much food I eat. I mean, it went up a little bit, but how people say they're dying hungry, that's not me. But that also might be because I live with my grandma, so I can get 3 cooked meals a day if I want them. It is the holiday season, and so I know that this can be a difficult time for people. And what I've noticed is that, physical changes aside, and I'll put some pictures up, is that people during the holiday season always decide this is the best time to get stuff off of their chest, which I think is a horrible idea because you probably don't see that person that often, and usually it's in a group. But there's been a little bit of conflict for me, but I don't really care about it, which I guess is another thing that upsets the person, because when it comes to family, I believe you should pick your battles wisely, because you'll make these transphobic, homophobic comments towards a person, but then what's interesting is that you'll want to interact with them later as if you didn't say these things, and that's just not how life works. You have to take accountability for your actions and your behaviors, and there's consequences, and a person should not be punished because they're like, I don't want to be around you anymore because you're just not the type of person I need in my life. So the story just essentially is that I feel that my uncle just used a very poor moment to kind of air all his feelings about me being trans and about, the LGBT community and all of that. We were talking about, like Patti LaBelle Pie video, and the guy that's in it that's acting very, what some people call flamboyant and gay, but I was saying you can't just call a person gay because they act effeminate. That's not what the word gay means, and it just ends up in this very long and ridiculous diatribe that somehow jumps into gender identity, and ends up saying that men that sleep with men or that are romantically interested in men is a stereotype rather than the definition of a gay man. That was strange. So he basically aired out how no matter essentially how I feel, he's always going to view me how he views me as female, and how that's playing with creations, playing with God, when, if you're Christian, you know that everybody does that in their own way, in their own defiance every day. So to specifically target LGBT people because you think, okay, this is a sin, when so is lying, so is stealing, so is adultery, so is so many other things, and that instead of casting stones at people, we should be loving people. So that was interesting, but what was funny was that he wanted to be able to say all those things and also try to lie and divide my aunt and I, and he still wanted me to be cool with him, and I let him know that I'm an adult, and one of the things about adults is that they don't have to have relationships with people that they do not want to have relationships with, and that there are some things you can't take back. Like, you cannot take back saying those types of comments to a person. You just can't. And so, we'll see how that goes. And this is just another reminder that you guys don't have to put up with that. You can make your own decisions about who you want in your life, and you will be much better off being alone than being with people and miserable, even if it's family that you've known since you were a baby. And I think that's something that's really much more prevalent in, from my perspective, the black community, but probably in general with a lot of people that are people of color. We usually have these very big things about family, and besides like a tradition standpoint, I think a lot of it comes down to a survival standpoint. If you've lived in this country trying to preserve your culture, or you're trying to or your whole, race of people is trying to recover from being enslaved, and so, it makes sense to be strict with, blood is thicker than water, no matter what a family member does to you, they're still your family. But, that's to be respected, that's great, but at the end of the day, if someone's harming you, they're still harming you, and you don't have to put up with that. And we shouldn't feel such pressure that just because, let's say, if there were 100 people in your family and 90 people say, not 90, 99 people say that you should still deal with that person, only one person's on your side, or no people on your side, that does not mean that you should still deal with that person. Culture does not trump mental health. It just doesn't work like that. But some other good news is that I told you guys that I won a scholarship for my short fiction story. That was great, but something else happened. I didn't apply for my honors college scholarship because I didn't take any honors courses this semester, but I received it last spring, so I guess it's one of those scholarships that renews. I randomly received an email saying that I received the scholarship, and it's for like $500. I was going, woo, that's great, nice surprise. And then something else that I had done on the 15th was apply for my capstone class, and this is unusual at a community college to have a capstone class. It's usually a 4-year university thing. And I also learned that some people have no idea what a capstone class is, but essentially in the 4-year institutions that I know of and the one that I attended, you take all your required courses to get your degree, but then you have a required capstone. And a required capstone can be fulfilled in a couple of different ways. Some people have fulfilled it by being double majors, double minoring, making a senior thesis is popular. Doing a senior research experiment is also very popular amongst students. And sometimes internships or certain professional experience can be your capstone. And then, of course, there's even more special opportunities if you're in really niche groups, such as an honors college or a merit scholar. So in our case, we're a guinea pig group because they want this to become a regular thing at our college for the merit scholars and the honors college, not just at our college, but system-wide, since it's a system of community colleges. And what they've designed from the very bare generic details they've given us is that we will be doing research, and we're going to decide upon what our research projects are. Now, the scope of that and what that means, I don't know. They will tell us later, but you have two options. You can take a contract in case the course does not fit into your schedule, and the trip that goes with that is to Washington, D.C. and to New York. Then you can take the actual course, and that goes to Italy. So I was very surprised when 2 days ago I was notified that I was a highly qualified merit scholar that was allowed into the capstone course, and I could choose whichever one I wanted, which is fantastic. But one of the things I didn't know that would be a problem is that I do have an incomplete for one of my classes that I was working on. And because of my PTSD, I planned to finish it this semester, but I pulled back because my professor would much rather I make an A than, make a D or a C, just trying to get through the last part of it, and I'm struggling that much. Because I already had a trajectory to make an A in that class. And so when they told me that I need to have all that finished by the 6th, I kind of freaked out, but I called around, and it looks like I can just submit a progress report plan, and they're going to see what time frame I need, and as long as that time frame is reasonable and is before they need to confirm traveling with this traveling company, I can still go. So, it's been a pretty great break to come to those things. And another thing I'm just looking forward to is spending time with my younger siblings. My sister, I drove 7 hours, 3 hours out and 3 hours back in, maybe 3.5 hours both ways to get her from San Antonio. She came back from the Air Force to visit home, so it's been very good. So I'm visiting younger siblings, cousins, family, going to extra church services because I go to my own, but family members always want you to go to theirs during the holidays. So for me, I think the break will be good. It's going to be busy since I'm taking a mini-mester and finishing up my honors course, but I think it's work that's well worth it. And to me, this just proves that you can be someone with mental illness and you can still succeed. It doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to limit you. So if any of you are struggling, I just really highly encourage you to find the help that you need and not to write off living your life, because you can do so many things even while you're struggling. Maybe it might be one class at a time or one opportunity at a time, but you can still progress in your life. You don't have to hit the pause button just because you're struggling. So I'm not sure what holidays you guys celebrate, but happy all holidays to everybody. And you should see me next week. I might even make a Christmas video or something. I don't know. I play around with my camera a lot during the holidays. I usually take lots of pictures, but I can try to take some movies and videos because I have a small camera that's handheld Nikon that takes HD video that I can kind of walk around with. And so you guys will see some pictures at the end. As always, you can comment, subscribe, and I will see you again next week.